Hello, beautiful vegans. I'm Mariquita Solis or Mariquita Solis. I'm a vegan empowerment coach, and I'm excited to welcome you to this live stream today with Rev Russell, Elleven. He's here to give us his wisdom about beliefs, our belief systems, how we can shift, how we can move into power and empower ourselves as vegans and live in peace. So, everyone that's watching, thank you for being here. Make sure that you give StreamYard permission to use your name. And if you have any questions or comments, if you're watching on the replay, please put them in the chat. And because we're going to be looking at this and we want to get your questions answered, we want to be here to support you. We know that can be challenging as a vegan. So that's what this live stream series is about. So thank you all for watching. And thank you for Reverend Russell for being here today. Tell our viewers about you. I mean, you have such an amazing history and you're doing so many things. So please tell the viewers about you and your vegan journey.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, and it's awfully nice to be here with you all, and thanks for tuning in. I'm a Unitarian Universalist minister. Um, um, I think minister has a lot of of ideas about what that is about, um, but I'm not very much of any of those that's about. Um, I had cancer when I was 13 years old. Had osteosarcoma, which is a bone cancer that required the amputation of my left arm. And then I had cancer again when I was 39 in 2004. Um, and I've been vegetarian for a lot of my life as I grew up, um, but then I started looking into the health aspects and um, moved towards veganism. Went after my second cancer. Um, I I wasn't aware of all of the harm that came from milk and egg production when I was a vegetarian. Um, and it was a member of the congregation I served that said, uh, he said, look into the chickens, look into the eggs, look into the milk, um, look into the male calves of the milk industry, and that's what helped me become vegan, um, and that was 2007. So I'd been flirting with this vegetarianism for a lot of years, for since I was 13 years old. I mean, when I was 13 years old, I didn't think it was right to eat animals. Um, but I didn't quite get to veganism until I was 2007, much later.
Well, that's an amazing story. I mean, seems like you've gained a lot of wisdom. I mean, you must have to be able to deal with cancer twice,
Mm.
and this journey of awakening, right? More connection to animals. And tell me about the end of life. I know that you're is an end of life doula. Can you explain that to me and everyone here that might not know exactly what that is?
Oh, sure. That's a great question. When my mother was dying of this long, protracted illness, uh, parasupranuclear palsy. I mean, you never hear of that because it's so rare, but it was a long, slow death. And as someone who I'm a former academic. I was a professor at a large university in Texas. Um, all I know to do is to start researching and start looking into these things. Um, and that's what it came to be with parasupernuclear palsy. I could not do anything for my mother, but I could learn about death. And end of life doula is someone who helps someone else cross over at the end of life. Um, there's no medical education. Um, it's all about presence, creating space for this person to do what needs to be done, um, and frankly, talking to the family members about perhaps getting out of the way of this. Let the person die, uh, and as difficult as that is, uh, it's actually what the person wants to do at the time that we're around them.
Yeah, that's very important. I actually went to a grief meeting last night and
Mm.
at Unity, where I go to church. And Reverend Richard said that one of the big things that people feel guilty about is the relief when someone passes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I felt relief a couple of weeks ago. My boyfriend's cat, who was suffering, and it was time, and
Mm.
he passed, and I felt a huge relief. Like, thank God he's transitioned.
Mm.
Um, and so, how does this work into animals with you?
Well, once a month, I host um, a program, a 1 hour grief support program. Um, so the first Wednesday of every month, I meet with people, and there's from any, I mean, we've had 5 people before, we've had 20 people before. Um, and it's all about people who are experiencing the grief that comes from losing an animal companion. Um, and sometimes it's recently, but a lot of times it is about people who have experienced this grief for an awful long time and can't quite kick it. And all I want to do is to create a space that says that's okay. Um, there's no timeline to grief, in my opinion, and people who are suffering um, after their cat has died 2 years ago and is still suffering still deserve respect and acknowledgement. Um, so the group is a a once a month lovely experience for me because there's so many people, whether it's 5 or 20, um, who are talking about something that is so genuine and so close to them.
That's beautiful. And where can people be a part of this group, or is there a charge, or is there a certain you have to something you need to do to get in the group?
Mhm. Yeah, thanks for asking. There's no charge. Um, anybody who wants to attend just needs to email me and get the link, the Zoom link, and the passcode, and I will set them up. And I assume we can figure out a way to get people my information, email, and uh,
Definitely.
yeah, they're welcome to come.
Yes, definitely. Because I do have a grief Zoom also with a group of people every once a month also, and it's so healing to get there with people that understand and to hear the stories, and to know that you're not alone, that you're in a safe space.
Right, right, right. Um, there are people who come to the group that I facilitate, um, uh, who've who've experienced this grief for a long time, and there's also people who just want to be there for other folks, um, to say it's okay. It's okay to be like it's okay to experience this. I've experienced it too, um, and so it's not like it's a therapy session, so much as it is a support. We support you, as you go through this.
Right. Just being with other people is a tremendous, it's a tremendous relief.
Hmm.
Yes. When is your next one?
So it's the first Wednesday of the month. I'm not exactly sure what.
Okay, well, that answers the question.
Okay. First Wednesday. First Wednesday.
All right. Yes. All right. Well, that is very interesting. So that was one thing I wanted to ask you about. Another thing I wanted to ask you about was your work with addictions. I mean, this is so fascinating to me because I have a lot of compassion for people that are trying to be vegan,
Mm.
and then they without realizing it. I mean, they're very addicted to these foods that are layered with fat and sugar and fat, and they and and they struggle. And I know that there are a lot of people that do judge and maybe go about it not in the most effective or kind manner. I think it's very important to know about these addictions. So it's wonderful that you're here. Can you educate us a little bit on this, please?
Yeah. Thank you for asking about that. Uh, so I'm in addition to being a minister, I'm also a licensed counselor in Texas, although I live in Illinois now. And part of my um, training, part of my education, um, was to facilitate this group of people who had either gone to prison, or they were either going to prison or were coming home from prison. And how do they make choices, um, um, with what is inevitably going to come up, um, with drugs and alcohol? And so I became familiar with a process called rational emotive behavior therapy. Um, and I went to an institute in New York City to get trained in the process. Um, but we were always telling people that this is as easy as ABC. ABC. So uh, the activating event, the belief about that event, the consequences of that belief, disputing the belief if it's irrational, and then exchanging that belief with something else that would be more helpful. So it requires you to really slow things down and think about things. Um, but I began to think um, that it was very similar to people who could not quit eating cheese, could not quit drinking milk, could not um, uh, vanquish their thirst for cheese. Because as I read more and more, as I do, um, this idea of addiction to fat, salt, and sugar, like what you talked about, um, and that we have to go through this same sort of process, and it's the belief that's most important. So if someone believes that it's okay to eat animals, if someone believes that um, our status on the evolutionary scale is such that we are given the right to eat animals, if someone believes that the Bible says it's okay to eat animals and that you've been given dominion, they act on those beliefs. So, my idea is that education changes those beliefs. What you're doing has the opportunity to change beliefs, because beliefs are the integral thing of how we behave. Beliefs are directly related to how we behave.
Yeah, and so many people, I mean, they're holding on tightly to that belief that you're talking about. That, I mean, the belief that we have to have meat, or we're going to be weak, or we have to have milk, or we're going to have osteoporosis. I mean, these are beliefs that have been ingrained in us from tiny little babies. I mean, with commercials and media, I mean, I don't even know how many hours we've been told that. So, how, where do you go about changing these beliefs? I mean, let's say if you have a belief that's hurting you, like I know a lot of vegans have the belief that nobody's going to listen to me. I can't make enough change, or just me isn't going to do enough. So how does that belief hinder our movement?
Well, I truly believe that everyone we can talk to is important, um, and so uh, I talk about this. I talk about veganism to other people. Um, um, when there are several opportunities to go to vegan restaurants in the area where I live. And so I make it a point to say, hey, I'm going to Spirit Elephant, which is a wonderful vegan restaurant. Um, if there, I recently found out that there was um, uh, a new vegan bakery that opened up. And so I make it a point to let everybody else know that there's a new vegan bakery opening up. Um, so I I I I think that people are nervous about veganism, but I also believe with my heart that we can do anything now. Um, uh, if you want to have your turkey and mashed potatoes on Thanksgiving, we can do that now without harming animals. Um, um, if you want to have uh, roasted, I don't know, what do people eat when they're watching football? These
Wings.
yeah, these wings. We can do that now. We can do anything now, um, and so your if we can work on people's beliefs that says I would rather not harm. If I have a choice, I would rather not harm animals. If we can work on that belief, I, I think we could get some places because we can do anything. We can do anything.
Well,
And
you have
so
a
it's
strong
just
belief.
that belief.
Right, you're right. We have to believe first before we can make make a change in the world. We have to believe in ourselves first. So when you're just on everyday basis, I know a lot of people are hesitant to bring up veganism or to even know where to begin. They're scared to talk
Mm.
about it. Do you? And how would you recommend someone bring that up if they're just out in everyday living, or would you
Well,
not recommend it?
yeah. Again, I bring it up every chance I get. So if I'm going to a vegan restaurant and all that, I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna tell my friends. I'm gonna tell people about that. So I think just speaking up and saying, the more people who say I'm vegan welcomes other people to say, hey, I'm either vegan or I'm trying to be vegan too.
What are the beliefs that are keeping people from speaking up? What do you see the big beliefs here? What needs to change?
Oh, what an excellent question. Because our beliefs are what keep us from talking about the reality. So uh, we believe that we'll be castigated, that we will be shunned, that we'll be told that's a bunch of frou frou, left wing, whatever. Um, and so we don't say anything. Our belief is that we'll be castigated about that. And that may happen sometimes. Um, but I also believe that there are other times when people who respect you and know you, and then you say, I'm vegan for the animals, they may listen to you in a way that's different than they would have otherwise.
Yeah, I think there's always opportunities to plant seeds, right? And then, I mean, we're so afraid a lot of times of the outcome that the belief is, I guess, is that what they say creates my peace. I mean, so how do we get away from that, from what
Mm.
they say? How do we sleep at night if people don't listen to us? I know that so many of us struggle from that, like going out there and someone makes fun of them, or being at work, they're not speaking up for themselves. I mean, where can we shift these beliefs in those everyday kind of situations?
Again, a great question. And but it does go back down to exactly what you're saying. It boils down to the belief that this group or this organization or this or that um, has this much power over me, or um, is so important to me that I will change what I believe. Um, and most of us aren't willing to do that. Um, it take the great thing in my estimation is that belief is the most important thing that we need to change for people to go to become vegan. I also believe it is the most difficult thing to change um, because all of us, you and I, we've stopped eating uh, certain things um, because our beliefs have changed. Um, it's a very powerful instrument, but it is very difficult to change.
Definitely, it is. And let's go back to this, the dominion over all animals belief.
Uh,
So how does somebody counter against that? If someone's saying, well, we were made to be, we're the top of the food chain and we're made to eat animals. That's why God put them here. What would be your response to that?
Well, that's a very specific belief, isn't it?
Yes.
It's a very specific belief. Um, um, I mean, I could go through the ideas that say, from what I have read of the Bible, um, that it is not dominion that the Hebrew word was saying, but that it was stewardship. And so I could argue from that viewpoint if I wanted. And stewardship is much different than uh, dominion. Like dominion is I have all this power over you, and stewardship is saying I want to take care of you so that you can thrive and survive. Um, so I could argue that with people um, because there's a lot of Hebrew scholars who have said that that word was translated improperly, and that it's not dominion, it is stewardship. Uh, but they've been told all of their lives that it's dominion. Um, and so you have to get somebody who is willing to think differently. And there are a lot of people who are willing to think differently if you and I talk to them about it. So it gets back to this idea of people don't. I believe the most important thing is to change people's beliefs, but I also know that people don't want to change their beliefs. Um,
Why is that? Why are people so steadfast in their belief system?
oh, gosh, it's been implanted this entirety of their life, whether it's 12 years or 50 years or whatever, they've been told this again and again. And so, what I'm saying or what I'm suggesting um, is that um, we, you and I, like what you're doing with this program, need to be vocal in saying there's a different way. There's a different way to do this. There is a different way to do Thanksgiving this time of year. There's a different way of doing it. There's a different way of doing Christmas or Hanukkah, or um, there's a different way of doing it. Um, but people don't have the opportunity to change their beliefs if they don't know that there's something different out there. And that's what you and I have to do, is to say there's something different out there. You can have the same taste, you can have the same mouthfeel with the same food, basically, um, and um, there's no death involved.
Right. And what about how is your what's your success rate when you're dealing with I mean people possibly in the congregation that you've worked in and just out in and it seems like they would be more willing to listen to you as a reverend, like
Mm,
a man of with that title of elevated spirituality or whatever you want to call it, right?
mhm.
How does it go? How does that go for you?
The congregation I served in Fort Worth, Texas, we had a, vegan potluck once a month. And there weren't many congregations doing that around us at the time. Um, and so we would get these lovely people from some Seventh Day Adventist congregations who were coming to meet with us and be with us. Um, and it was a lovely experience. We would have 30, 35, I mean, at the biggest, it was 50 people who would come to this vegan potluck. So you do what you can do. You talk to who you can talk to, and 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 you hope that the message resonates.
That's all you can do. Yes, you're right. And we have a Wednesday night dinner at my church at Unity North, and well, the people that do the catering save me a little. Have a little vegan thing for me. And yesterday I said that there were more vegans than me, so I don't know how that's going to go over. But opening it up where it's not something that's so ostracized, right? It's like this weirdo over here has got her own special food. I mean, this is regular old food, right? And people are like, I can never be vegan, but um, do you eat bananas? I mean, do you do you eat cantaloupe? I mean, do you eat beans? I mean, those are vegan foods that people, when they say they can't be vegan, they are eating vegan, right? That's a
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, everybody can eat vegan food. Everybody can. No matter, they may be gluten free, and so we need to change something there. But everything can be eaten that is vegan. Um, Everybody with every spiritual background can eat vegan. Um, um, not everybody, uh, uh, not everybody can come to the table and eat the way that is presented by the majority of our households.
Yes, you're right. And what's interesting is, well, thank everybody. Thanks for watching, Naresh. And I see that BJ is online. She is Universal Unitarian, and she just worked hard she's with climate healers and doing the
Oh
work
yeah,
healer. Do you know BJ?
I do know BJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, she was saying, greetings, Mariquita and Russell. So glad you're online. Yeah, I just looked to see who that was. So
My
yeah,
goodness, BJ does so much. She does so much. It is incredible.
I know she works hard, and I was so excited about the World Food Day, the Food Healers Day, and I was all ready. And what happened was, I volunteered at the Nature Center a few days before, and I stepped there was leaves everywhere, and I was walking, and I stepped in a hole, and I twisted my knee so I couldn't
Mm.
even walk for that whole weekend. So I never got to hand out food. And I thought about BJ, but I knew she was out there doing it. So yeah, next year I'm not going to fall in any holes or anything like that.
Uh,
So anyway, she just said thank you. Yeah, they're very impactful climate healers, and it's wonderful. I mean, those
in
are
Texas, she's in Texas, and so that has even more meaning for me because most of my life was spent in Texas before moving to the Chicago area. Um, and I think in Texas, it's more difficult to say, hey, I'm vegan than it is in Chicago.
I believe it because I mean, when I think of Texas, I think of rodeos and all that, and that's very strange. I mean, I know that I feel like I have. I hope this isn't true, but I think it's true that I have a veterinarian that years ago. She's very kind and loving, but I think she went to the rodeo, and I don't understand that. I just can't get it, you
Yeah.
know. So, but
Yeah. Yeah, veterinarians and their relationships with animals is a really interesting topic. Um, um, but I am beginning to do a bit more reading in that area because, you know, uh, they bring animals into life oftentimes with birth. but they also often euthanize animals, and how that must be difficult again and again and again to do that, and witness the same experience of grief for people as they watch their animals die. I mean, veterinarians have a very high percentage of suicide rate. Um, and I'm really interested in figuring out more about that.
Yeah, I bet that would be fascinating. And then also veterinarians that eat meat. It seems like those are different, two contrasting beliefs here, right? We're saving animals, and there has to be a deep belief about, I mean, a deep love for animals there, and then we're going home and eating them. So it's contradicting, and it's just very interesting to me how they still go along.
Yeah, what a great point you've brought up. But in one of our other conversations, um, I've talked about how um, there is this discrimination going on. We discriminate over what animals we will have for food, and what animals we will allow to lie in our bed. Um, and I and that gets back to beliefs, right? Um, because if we believe something is worthwhile and worthy, we're not going to kill it and eat it. Um, Something that is worthwhile and necessary is something to be, at the very least, left alone and allowed to survive. Um, at the at the other end, we should support and uphold those um, beings for their life. Um, and that's what I want to move towards, this expanding circle of compassion. Um, and again, I think it comes from you and I being able to say, eh, I don't do that. I don't eat that. Um, I don't drink that.
Right. And I feel somewhat protected as the leader of the animal ministry at Unity North, because I mean, I'm not so wacko vegan, because I mean, if the leader, it goes along with being the leader of the animal ministry, I feel like, right? I mean, how in the
Mm.
world could I, if I'm the leader of the animal ministry, why would I discriminate against some animals and not others? So in that case, thank God I'm the leader of the animal ministry, and I can bring in these elements when I do have we have our services to try to expand this out to all animals, just by just planting little seeds instead of going there.
Mm.
Well, I probably wouldn't be the leader of the animal ministry if I just went all vegan on them. So,
Yeah, I hear you.
yeah.
Um, I'm the president of the Unitarian Universalist Animal Ministry, and we have about between 30 and 50 congregations that have this same viewpoint that you and I do. Um, and it's difficult sometimes for them to get their viewpoint across in the congregation that they serve. But they are the constant voice that says, um, let's change our belief, let's expand our circle of compassion.
Right. And here's I think this is BJ again talking about expanding the circle of compassion. Yes, value life. Good points, Russell. And so let's talk about what veganism really is here. When we're talking about compassion, what would you say, veganism in its purest form would be?
Hmm. Um, Um, I've heard this said in better ways than I think I could say it, but something like I think PETA says this. I'm not always a great fan of PETA, but animals are not ours to be eaten or used or um, I don't know the exact phrase that they say, but um, I, as best I know, I'm not going to partake in anything that is animal based. Um, there have been times, I think, in my earlier days of veganism where I didn't read the ingredient list closely enough, and I couldn't believe that some things were in ingredients that I didn't expect. Uh, but that was also a learning experience, and so I look at those things more closely these days. Um, um, in defining veganism, I would just request that folks not um, eat or imbibe anything that's animal based. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, I was asking just generally, and about, and also about the compassion element of veganism.
Yeah, I think compassionate people want to expand their compassion. So, um, so I don't think I don't I don't believe that compassionate people have this limit of their compassion. So I believe that compassionate people want to help uh, groups and organizations uh, um, who are not being helped. I, I mean, compassion to me seems like something that should be spread rather than something that should be conserved. Um, so the more that we can put it out there, um, I think the better. You know, um, I think there is a lot of politics right now that is interested in taking away rights, removing things, and compassion. And um, the arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. I'll tell you something right now, and that is that Lincoln is off. Martin Luther King is often given. Um, he's often said to have expressed that the first, but it was actually a Unitarian minister who said something very similar um, um, that MLK took on for his own. It's cool either way. I mean, it's good to be said. I mean, the arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And you can say the same word. You can say compassion. It bends towards compassion. And so we continue, I believe, to extend our compassion. Um, and at the same time, we will look at people around us who conserve that compassion and don't want to dole it out as generously as we do.
How do you have compassion for people that laugh at, let's just say, someone's laughing and making fun of you for eating for being vegan, right? How do you have compassion for that person? Because I know a lot of us struggle, cry, and a lot of people are very angry and say that those are blah 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 blah. So how what would you say to that?
Um, I would say that we've only got so much time on this earth, um, and that during my lifetime, the world is not going to become vegan. And so, what I can do is talk to the people I can talk to, and convince the people I can convince. Um, um, Everybody's not going to become vegan in the next 30 years, if I'm fortunate enough to be alive that long. Um, but the more we talk about it, the more examples we give. Um, my spouse and I are having a friend of ours come over to the house for the first time. Her husband died in February of this year and was a good friend of mine. And we used to, my wife and I used to joke with him about how he wouldn't eat a vegetable. Um, and so bok choy, bok choy was this thing that we would always bring up when. But we're having his spouse over, and we're going to cook a vegan meal, and we're going to make a big deal out of it. Um, and it's not one she would have eaten this week or that week otherwise. So again, it is saying, here I am. This is what I believe, and this is why it's important.
Yeah, and then you're off sharing a new opportunity, a new way of eating, a new experience with peacefulness. That's what's beautiful, like with
Mm,
peacefulness and not anger towards her or not cutting her off. Because if we cut people off, then how are we going to make a change, right?
mhm.
So I love that. Yeah, and
Yeah,
we got.
people don't often change because of castigation. Either in the addiction world or the other world, um, people don't often change because people tell them how bad they are.
Yes, you're right. And we have to lift people up and want so if they see you happy, they're like, "Oh my gosh, look at Reverend Russell. Like, why is he so happy, right? Why are you so at peace?"
Hmm.
Well, because you're living in alignment where you're not hurting other beings, where you're respectful for all life. Of course. I mean, that's a very peaceful existence to be in. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a lovely way to say it.
Well, I'm looking at these comments. I think this is Joseph in Africa, Joseph Odika. Veganism, in my opinion, should be considered a justice system due to the fact eating such plant-based diet, people get healing, animals get saved, the climate and the environment becomes greener. I mean, a global shift to veganism will definitely turn global climate emergency around and save humanity from existential risks. Amen to that. Yes, and Joseph is doing an incredible job. He hasn't been vegan very long, but he organized a veg fest there and for a week-long veg fest last year, and I was the speaker on the virtual, which was beautiful.
Mm,
I mean, he's really taking action. I love to see. I mean, here we got BJ, and who's been doing this for years, and we got Joseph stepping in, and everyone doing their part makes a tremendous difference. And exactly, this is what BJ's saying too. I believe we may be reaching some tipping point for veganism to take off, right? And we just don't ever know. I mean, with the climate, something's got to change. We've got to save our earth.
mm,
When I was reading that book, Eat for the Planet, I think is what it's called. Niles, I'm not sure, but he was talking about almost like 45% of our land mass on the planet is taken up by animal agriculture. It's
mm,
so
mm,
sad. I'd had no idea it was so much. And people probably don't know that. And that whether, and if they did know it, they don't know the repercussions of that.
Right. It's one thing to talk about those numbers, but also a different thing to put those numbers in perspective. Um, um, b- as we see climate change occur before our very eyes, um, the more um, agricultural activity that we produce will be more difficult for the earth to handle. Um, yeah, I think the earth has done us a pretty big solid for a long time, but we continue to hurt her. Um, and there's going to be a point uh, where she just can't take it anymore. Um, and I think that's getting closer and closer.
It's so sad to hear the numbers of animals that have gone extinct, and that, I mean, we're losing, we're just losing. And the way we're poisoning the oceans, it's so scary to see how we're spraying chemicals in the water, and the dead zones. It's,
Mm,
I mean, that's so far away from me, being in Atlanta, Georgia, right?
mm,
In here,
mm,
and I can just shut my eyes to that and think, oh, well, everything's very pretty over here. Go
mm.
outside, everything looks like it's working. So why do I need to care about anything else? And that's what's, I think that's one of the issues. I mean, we're not really in, like, I'm not in touch with what's going on with the rainforest. I don't know. I mean, I do know, but we can really separate ourselves where we don't have concern. And it's just destroying our planet. It's so sad. And I don't think people understand how everything they're doing, I mean, it is based on this foundation of beliefs. And so all the energy, everything their belief is rippling out there, and everything they believe is affecting thousands of people, right? So we are making a difference. And so the way we live, is it going to help the earth, or is it going to hurt the earth? Are our thoughts helping us? Our beliefs helping us? Are they hindering us? When I'm going out to be an activist, am I believing nobody's going to listen to me? Because then I'm on the foundation of weakness. I've just shut myself off for people listening. I've shut off my confidence, right? So we've got to get back into these empowering beliefs about ourselves. I mean, that's where it starts here. And questioning the beliefs once we're older, because it's very easy just to go along with everything we learned and never open up to awareness. And I wonder why some people are more, it's easier for some people to open up more than others.
If you are entrenched in the same ideas from the same time, I mean, the arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. That means that it continues to go, right?
I feel really sad. Like one time I heard a gentleman saying that he had been at the same company for like 60 years. And I thought, oh my goodness. And I could see why he was proud of that. But then I thought, where's the growth here? Where's the experience of life? I mean, that made me so sad. And
Mm,
this was, it was taken this, and I'm saying this without judgment, right? I mean, he was like somebody that brought the carpets to the restaurant, right? So I would, for me, my idea of that would be like, it might be something very tiring to do that same thing. And I'm sure that he had his friends that he would see at each restaurant, that he would drop that off. But I feel like, let's grow,
mm,
right? Let's invite
mm.
the world to grow. I think veganism is inviting a newness and a new experience. And if we can present it as that, it's not something that we're taking away, but a gift of new experience and new food, exciting food, the way that you're going to be sharing this beautiful dinner with your friend. And that's the way to do it. Um, if we could do it, if we could just remember that we are the example always, right? Our belief in ourself is so important.
Uh, doesn't it sound a little bit evangelical to you? Uh, I mean, we want to get the message out. We want to provide a light to other folks to say, hey, look at what we get by living this way. Um, I don't believe that's wrong in any way. I think that's exactly right. Um, and at the same time, when you let your light shine to other folks, sometimes the light is accepted and sometimes it's not.
You're right. You're right. But then it's beautiful when we can still go on if people don't accept our light, right? That we have so much of the light in us that we still go on and we're okay and we're not hurt by it. It's almost like veganism disciples,
Mm,
right?
mm. Yeah, you don't stop. You don't stop because somebody has said, oh, um, uh, that's BS or whatever they may say. Um, I wore a shirt one time where this that just said vegan in these letters that were like a college
Uh-huh.
T-shirt, um, and a friend of mine kind of called me out on that, and we got to talk in a way that we had never talked before. Um, so again, uh, the the lead singer of Smashing Pumpkins has a vegan restaurant very near where I live, and I go there almost every Wednesday. Um, um, uh, but my friends know I'm about to make an order from Madame Zuzu's because I make a big deal out of it. You know, every I don't know that I hope I don't go overboard to where it's annoying, uh, but at the same time, it's what's important.
Right, using your vegan voice.
Mm,
Definitely. I love that, right? That's
mm.
what we all need to do. Be able to stand in our confidence and our beliefs. I mean, when you really feel grounded in your belief and you don't feel, I mean, you're unshakable in your belief. That's what we really need to be, unshakable in our beliefs. Um, so I know that we are coming up on the end of the hour. So I want to know, I mean, let everybody know where they can get a hold of you. We're going to go back and put in the comments where you are. Um, Let me see. I think we've got some little troll here. So I'm going to try to block the troll. But anyway, I guess that means I've hit the big time, right? When you get a troll.
Uh,
Anyway, so tell us where we can find you.
yeah, if you go to www.animalchaplain.net, net, animalchaplain.net, uh, it's easy to get in touch with me. There's actually a place that you can click that says "Let's Talk," and we'll give folks a 30-minute opportunity to talk with me and see what's going on.
Well, definitely. I'm so happy that I saw you, I'm so honored that I saw you in Main Street Vegan Academy, Victoria Moran's. Oh my gosh. I was so excited for your talk.
Oh, nice. That's lovely to hear. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And this has been so informative. Thank you, Joseph and BJ. And wait, let me see. Ask him about the first Wednesday pet grieving group.
Yeah, if you go to animalchaplain.net, there is a space specifically for that information, and you just email me. I will send you the link and the code for attending.
I want to attend, and I'm going to be emailing you about that. And I know that I may probably a lot of people from my group. I'm going to share that with them
Hmm.
because I mean, the more support we have, the stronger our foundation. So,
Right. And being with other people who understand the grief is really important, I think. So, um, you know, as we were talking about earlier, somebody who has been grieving for a long time is not shunned or thought you should really get over this, but they're supported.
That's beautiful. And someone says, love that group.
Mm,
Yes. So
mm.
this is this has been a wonderful conversation. You'll have to come back and tell us more. And thank whoever's saying thank you for your time. Thank you, Reverend Russell, and thanks everybody for watching. I feel very inspired. I'm ready to be a veganism disciple as I get off this live stream. So we're all standing with it. We're all doing our part, and let's just keep going for the earth and for the animals.
Well, you're lovely, and all the people who are watching today are lovely too.
Well, thanks everybody. Namaste, vegan.